You know what's so scary about procrastination? Most of the time, it doesn't even look like we're being lazy. It looks like we're being very responsible. We say things like, I'll start properly next week. I just need to plan a bit more. I'm just waiting for the right time. I'm not mentally ready yet. And all of a sudden, weeks become months and you're still exactly in the same place, talking about exactly the same goals year after year. And you know what's even scarier about procrastination is that it feels so productive. What you do is that you end up researching, you plan, you think, you're organizing, but you're just not moving. And eventually you get so used to delaying your life that potential starts to feel like you're actually making progress. You're listening to Wealthy Hypocrites. I wish. You're listening to Healthy Hypocrites. This is the podcast where we talk about the messy intersection between faith, science, and health, but also where we get vulnerable. And I'm your host, Tumi, a follower of Christ, but also a dietitian and a lactation consultant. And I believe that wellness is not about perfection, but instead it's about honesty, intention, and grace. The main message today is that we really need to stop pretending like we're stuck because we don't know what to do. Because if we're being honest, most of us know what to do. So today we're talking about procrastination, not laziness, not lack of ambition, but literally procrastination. Today's question in the confession jar is, what is one thing you've been saying you'll start soon, but deep down you know that you've been avoiding it? For some people, it's health. You keep saying that you're going to start on Monday. You're going to start when you get the skipping rope that you want, when you get a walking pad. You're going to start when your gym membership is activated. And for others, it's therapy. For some of us, it's content creation. Others, it's studying, applying for a job. And the longer and longer you wait and delay, the more heavy it feels, the heavier it feels. And I think one of the biggest things and the hardest truths that I had to learn is procrastination is very rarely about the task itself. It's usually about the emotion that is attached to it. If I'm going to answer this question, the confession jar, something that I'll say I've been delaying is my ebook. You won't believe it because I just launched it, so it doesn't really seem like I've been delaying it, but there are nights where I literally got home from the gym and just wanted to watch some series, curl up in bed and sleep, and that's what I did. There are days where I was fighting that procrastination. There's a lot of times where I just where I just gave into it and I didn't do it. And when I say procrastination is really about the task itself, it's usually about the emotion attached to it. I think the biggest thing for me at that point is overwhelm. But just to give more context in terms of what I'm saying now is sometimes if I procrastinate something, it's usually, let's say I procrastinate recording a video, recording a podcast episode. It's not because I don't know what to say or because I don't know what to write an episode on. It's because sometimes you feel very anxious and overthinking about the things that you might post. For example, today's episode is not studio recorded because I've been in a situation recently where I can only afford to record these videos on my phone. I mean, these podcast episodes on my phone. So I feel that people will judge it. Sometimes we procrastinate going to the gym because we don't want to feel uncomfortable, especially now that it's colder. You don't want to undress and wear those clothes that are not as warm as your typical clothes. You don't want to be embarrassed trying exercises that you feel you just look silly trying. Sometimes we procrastinate changing our lives because staying where we are feels safer emotionally, much safer than trying and failing. And so I think that's why procrastination becomes so dangerous, because eventually the more we delay things, the more they start to feel normal. And there's actually a study by Saraz and Kyle. I hope I said that right. But essentially it's a study that was published in 2013 that explains that procrastination as an emotion is more of an emotional regulation problem rather than a time management issue, which is crazy. But because it's crazy because it challenges everything we believe about procrastination. But in simple terms, people procrastinate in order to avoid negative emotions in the moment. So this can be procrastinating to avoid a stressful situation or to avoid emotions like discomfort, fear, self-doubt. And even though delaying creates bigger problems later, we still do it. Isn't that crazy? And after I read that, I felt so exposed, because procrastination is often self-protection. You delay the workout because you don't want to feel weak. You don't want to be embarrassed in the gym. You delay the project because you don't want it to be subpar. You delay the conversation because you don't want to fight with that person. You don't want to argue with that person. You just want a peaceful, calm relationship. You delay obedience because comfort feels easier than surrender. It feels so much easier to, and I'm going to use this example because I think it's so relevant to us in this day and age. It's so much easier to have a relationship where you're dating someone and you guys are sexually active and enjoying that than to be obedient and abstain until marriage. It's always easier to do the thing that you should be doing. You shouldn't be doing rather than the thing that you should be doing. And that's why we call it the narrow path. But, the truth about procrastination, no matter what you're procrastinating, is that it ends up stealing your confidence. Because every single time you avoid something that's important, you end up teaching yourself that you cannot trust yourself to follow through. And that affects literally everything that you do. I want us to turn to Ecclesiastes 11 verse 4 that says, "Whoever watches the wind will not plant. Whoever looks at the clouds will not reap." In other words, this means that if you wait for the very perfect conditions, you'll end up being stuck forever. And Proverbs 13 verse 4 says, "The soul of a sluggard craves and gets nothing. The soul of the diligent is richly supplied." And this one was also, something that caught me off guard, because it's not a verse that I come across often. Nobody really talks about it. But what it means, and it's very interesting, the meaning of it is that you and somebody who is successful have the same desires. So desire alone changes nothing. Wanting better is not enough. You need to move. You need to take action, because that's what separates you and somebody who fails. They didn't even try. They didn't even go out there and do it, and you did it, and that's why you will succeed. And honestly speaking, I think a lot of us are exhausted, not necessarily because we're doing too much, but because we're constantly carrying these thoughts and intentions in our head and in our hearts, knowing that we should have started with them a long time ago. And so therefore, I'm going to share some things that have worked for me and things that I've seen work for a lot of high performing people that I've met, a lot of successful people, and some of my successful friends as well, and people doing well in the business space that I've spoken about. These are some things that usually help them overcome procrastination and help me as well. The very first thing, number one, first and foremost, and I'm going to scream this in your ear, I hope you hear me loud and clear: stop waiting to feel ready. Readiness is not a feeling, it's a decision. And it is so overrated. Action is the thing that actually gives us clarity, and not the other way around. We don't get clarity from being ready. We get clarity from acting. The second thing, and this is so difficult sometimes, especially if you're so in your head about things, is that we need to make the tasks smaller. The goal is that you don't need to write the whole ebook in a day. It took me a lot to learn this. You don't have to undo all of the damage of all of the years where you weren't exercising in a day. The goal is to stop avoiding it. Sometimes momentum starts with 5 minutes. Even if you exercise for 5 minutes, read the Bible for 5 minutes, do whatever it is for 5 minutes, make a salad that's going to take you 5 minutes to make. That is the starting point. The third thing is that you need to stop, and we all need to stop making our emotions our leaders. Feelings are very real, and I'm not even going to sit here and deny it. But they're not always reliable. In fact, most of the time they're not reliable, especially when it comes to achieving goals that are not right there in front of you. Discipline is choosing what matters even when comfort is much louder. And the last thing that I want to encourage you to do is reconnect with who you want to become. Yes, we did speak about not being in la la land of planning and theorizing, but reconnect with that person. Spend time with some people that are doing the thing that you want to do to become the person you want to become. If you want to become a person who's deeply rooted into fitness, go to a high rocks competition and just go watch. Just go see. Spend some time in those spaces and you'll be surprised. Join a running club and take a walk. Be part of the walkers. But connect with that person that you want to become. Because every single action that we take is shaping the people that we are. It's shaping our identity. And every single time you follow through, even in the smallest of ways, you reinforce the thought that I am someone who acts. I am someone who keeps promises I've made to myself. I am someone who does the hard things. 2 Timothy 1 verse 7 says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind." And this is my favorite verse. I'm going to say it again. I love it so much. For God has not given us... Okay, now I messed it up. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. Not fear, not avoidance, not paralysis, but rather power, action, movement. So this week, stop negotiating with the things you already know that you need to do. Send the email, go to the gym, start the project, send the WhatsApp message, post the content, have the conversation, take that very first step, because your life is not going to change because you want to do things. The desire to do things is not going to do anything for you. It's changed when you stop delaying the things that you need to do. You've been listening to Healthy Hypocrites. Again, I'm Tumi, your host. And remember, you do not need to be perfect to be at peace. You just need to be present and intentional. And I will see you next week, Tuesday at 6. Bye.